My name is Heiner Kruse, and I'm here with Jason from Knobula, one of the
Hello, hi.
most, hi Jason, one of the most innovative companies for modules, and he's a musician too, and let's hear it from himself. Jason, hello, where are you now?
I am at Knobula headquarters in London, Ladbroke Grove, for those that know West London. And yeah, this is where I do all my design work and demos and things like that. So yeah, there's quite a lot going on in the background with my little workshop there and my cow, which I think should be is going to soon be on top of a tent in Superbooth next week. Yeah, so this is where I work.
That's the moment where I'm catching you in. You're preparing for Superbooth, you got a
Yep.
new module, drum farm, and well, let's hear a little bit about you. You have been a musician, you've been graphic designer, you've done soundtrack stuff, you've done your own movie. Tell us a little bit, how did you
Yeah,
come
yeah,
into making modules? And how's your story? What's your story
yeah. The
in short?
backstory. I suppose I always start it with the first synthesizer I made. I think I was 13. I might have been 12, but I think I was 13. My father, God bless him, he had an electronics company that they made electronics weighing machines for food
Oh,
production, and I wasn't remotely interested in that. And as my children aren't remotely interested in modular, weirdly, but I was interested in electronic music, as was he. So that was our kind of crossover interest, hobby. And I wanted to make synths, and I had access to pretty much unlimited surplus stock, electronic stock.
wow.
So it didn't cost me very much because we couldn't afford to buy real ones. We had to make them. And so I started making them, and then I started playing them, and then my career sort of evolved from there. And then I stopped making them and just bought them. Yeah, I had a hit record in the '90s with Thunderbirds I'll Go. I think I was 22 at the time, so I think I was quite young and innocent.
1991, correct?
Yeah, yeah, and so I did that, and that kind of launched me as like a remix artist, and I had my own studio. Weirdly, it was in this building, but this building you can't tell. This building is like 6 years old. My studio was like a small factory shed, which has since been knocked down to make way for this building. So in a weird kind of circular way, I'm back where I started, building synths instead of playing them. But
Wow.
in between all that, the I also had a career in post production and visual effects. So I started off doing sound effects for movies, and then music for movies, and I was doing. Then I got into computer graphics for movies. So yeah, I had a hit record, but I was also on the Oscar-winning team for the Golden Compass back in 2007, I think it was. The Golden Compass being a digital polar bear that roamed across the uh, the the Arctic Circle, I guess, and we had to do the fur. So I was one of the fur people. Fur like the kind of skin and
Okay.
fur. I was a surfacing guy. So yeah, I did that, and in doing that, because I studied the computer graphics at quite a high level, or computer animation, I had to learn to code in C++ to do. I was doing fur shading and lighting and all sorts of things. So
Okay.
when I exited VFX fully just before COVID, I thought let's give this module thing a go. How hard can it be?
So obviously you've got skills in electronic design and in software.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. I mean, I don't for Knobula. I don't do the electronic design myself.
Okay.
But I'm kind of
But you have a clue how it's done.
I have a clue. I'm electronics friendly, as they say. But I don't do the for Knobula. I have someone else do that for me. But I do most of the firmware, most of the digital software programming. I do, and obviously all the testing and design is me.
So you've been sticking truly to your inner self by doing what you do. It's at least that's how it appears to me, because making modules is a kind of artistic work too, at least nowadays. And when I try to compare your stuff with other modules, then having heard what you told me now, it all makes more sense, because your modules have everything. They have the cinematic aspects. So your first module was the polycinematic, and it was about playing polyphonic, which is a hard thing to do in the Eurorack world.
It is.
And then you obviously don't shy away from digital stuff in modules, while you still know mixing and how to deal with the analog stuff. And it all makes perfect sense, and that's why your modules are different from others.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it's a sign of my age. I was brought up in a time where the CEM chips that powered the Prophet 5 and the old analog stuff, that was considered the digital of its day. So when they started putting filters into IC circuits, that was considered like, that's not discrete circuitry. So that was the digital of its day. So I've been around long enough to know that each progression is looked down upon by the people before it, in the same way that I personally look down at Suno and I think that's really not for me. That's not real music. And in the same sense, people looked at me when I was doing electronic music like, well, that's not proper music. Back in the 80s, it was they were trying to ban it. So
there are always two sides to look at it.
Yeah. But also, when I designed polycinematic, it was very much like, I wanted something that filled the whole of polyphony in my rack.
That was your first module, and you started doing it during COVID, right? You had the idea before, and then there was COVID, and you came up with the idea to do this.
Someone's just at my door. Can I just
we
pause just for? I literally will be 2 seconds. Hello. Thank you very much.
No stress. No stress. I cut it out.
That's okay. It's just the logistics of running a module company. There's stuff coming in and out the whole day.
I can cut it out. I can leave it in. Okay.
Yeah, you can leave it in if people watch a blank space for 5 seconds. But yeah, so what was that? Yeah, so that's the kind of circular nature of what I do. I've kind of taken this long journey from building synthesizers and then learning to use them and learning music production, and then I got into film sound effects for films, and then eventually hit records, and I did one film soundtrack, I think, and then in when I had kids, I just stopped it all. I just thought it's a fairly unforgiving business, the music business, and I just thought I had this passion for making movies, so I actually made a short film. I don't know if you know. It's called Hoverbike, and it's like a kind of Pixar style cartoon, and I made that.
I make sure I put a link into the.
Yeah, I think somebody, if not me, somebody else has uploaded it. It was viewed quite a lot. Anyway, so that was my calling card. I just sent a copy to a company called Framestore, and who, funnily enough, were working on a film called Thunderbirds. So I'd done the music to Thunderbirds, I'd remixed it, and then I was working for the company that were making a film version of it. They gave me a job off the back of that film, and then it snowballed from there, really. But again, it's quite an unforgiving business, long hours. But I could do it and have children, so that was the main thing. But my kids are grown up now, so I can play around a bit more.
So let's get back to the poly cinematic. So
the poly cinematic.
That was the first module, and you were in the position that you not only had an overview of the market, so you knew what was kind of missing in the world of your rack. You were also able to realize it. That's what's distinguishing you from me. So I have lots of idea, but I don't know how to realize a product like this. And it became a big success. You made a first module and then sold 1,500 or so.
Yeah, I have something like that. I haven't looked at the figures recently because it's discontinued now, and the Monumatic has taken its place, so it's done very well. It's filling a gap. I wasn't the only one who felt that they needed to just have the odd bit of polyphonics in Eurorack, and Monumatic kind of addresses the CV gate side of it possibly a bit better. It ticks all those boxes.
It's worth mentioning that the Monumatic is capable to do everything what the polycinematic was able to do, right? But it has much more options.
It's got a lot more options. If there was a difference, somebody said, is there anything the polycinematic, or he said, is there anything my polycinematic can do that the Monumatic can't? And I said, well, there is one setting of Supersaw that polycinematic has, a medium, whereas Monumatic just has the large and the small.
Okay.
So there are subtle differences, but other than that, there is some shared code between them. And obviously Monumatic was done with a lot more experience in mind, with me, and slightly different hardware as well, so we could do more things like
more algorithms.
There's more algorithms because we put this 16-way switch in it, and also we put jack sensing on it. So when you plug something into the CVA or CVB, it automatically waits for you to turn a knob as a destination for that CV. So.
And what I also like is that you put in mix knobs for the effect. You also did that in the Echo Cinematic, where you turn it up to 12 o'clock and the dry signal stays still as strong while you already start adding the effect, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's very smart, so you can have a little bit of the feeling as if you had two different dry-wet knobs, while you're saving the space to have one.
Well, we're saving the space, and also I think being an old studio head, having that experience of working not just in a studio myself, but working with clients, you know what they're going to ask for, you know what they're going to want, you know the different situations they're going to use it. Because Echo Cinematic, you might just use it in series with a polycinematic or a Monumatic. So you want to have the dry signal, but also you still want to have the option of having no original signal if you're using it as a send, which I am in that box there. So yeah, it's just having that kind of wisdom of music production, I guess, which really helps.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And was the Chord Pilot your second module?
No, Cocaine.
Okay.
Was the second module. Cocaine was the second module, which again that's sort of turned into a bit of a kind of classic now, which is great. So that's got the sidechain built in as well as the kick drum. I wanted a kind of analog sounding kick drum, and all the modules I found were just a bit too simple, a bit too basic. So Cocaine has got somewhat 8 controls on it for tuning the kick, but it's also got the integrated sidechain compressor, which is it's not just volume, it also analyzes the frequency of the kick drum and can remove that from the incoming signal. So it's as sidechains go, it's quite sophisticated and very low maintenance. You don't really have to think about it. You can just set it and forget it.
So drums and chords, That's
Yeah,
these are
Chord Pilot
things you're
came
into,
third.
and now
Yeah.
your new module is a drum module. You want
Yeah,
to
so
show it?
it was coming back to the cocaine and drums and just getting the rest of the kit in there. Can you see? Can you
Yes,
see that? That's
can
drum
see that
farm.
fine. That's a new
Drum
module.
farm. So yeah, there you go.
Tell us
That's
a
the
little
new.
bit about it.
So drum farm started off as like, well, we've got to do some drum modules. I quite like a 9/9 snare, kind of, virtual analog, because I do virtual analog. I don't really do analog. And then I thought, oh, but I also quite like a clap. And so I was thinking of bringing out this range of little modules, and I thought, well, that's kind of already been done. So let's just pack it all into, one unit. And then I thought, well, you can't play them all at once. You can't trigger them all at once. And I didn't want it to be too complicated. So I thought, well, why don't we just have a sampler running in the background all the time? And when you get a kind of virtual analog sound that you like, you just say, oh, I'll keep that and assign it to another voice. So that's really what became the drum farm. In fact, the original
Great
inspiration
idea.
came from the sort of stupid inspiration, which I always have for these things, is like, what if you had a module that just wanted to be its own library, a module that you could patch it in a certain way, and if you got it right, you
You
could
can
get
create
it to,
the library fast.
you could create a library almost automatically.
Okay.
I mean, I did have it so that you could save to the SD card by CV Gate, but I've actually disabled that because it's just going to get people into trouble if that's possible.
Can you cut like start and end points? Or
Yeah,
name?
there is a trim function. It's called trim and reverse,
Okay.
and it's crude, and it's really only meant to. It can sample up to 10 seconds, but
For the whole module or
per sound. So altogether, I think on a whole module, it accounts for about 5 or 6 minutes of sample time. But you can sample up to 10 seconds. But I've actually restricted it. I mean, you can unrestrict it. There's a settings file you can change, but I've restricted it because generally drum sounds, unless you're doing
not
loops,
longer than 10 seconds.
yeah, and it just means that the trim function. Getting back to your question about trimming, you've only got two. The trim function, I think, is, if I set it to trim reverse, which is that one there, a big R, and then you've got start here. So that would be the start, and that would be the end. Okay, so if you're dealing with 10 seconds or even 4 seconds, it's a bit crude. But nonetheless, it's there. And then if you move the ends time before the start time, it flips it.
And you get a reverse.
And you get a reverse. So that's why it's called trim reverse. It doesn't work on the real time.
But there's no destructive editing for the recordings.
No, that's real time, and then you resample. So, I mean, some people might be thinking, oh, well, that's like sound on sound. You're just going through the system again. And I think
You can resample.
You can resample, and it's not going to analog and back again. It's still in the digital domain, so you can do it forever. There's no quality loss. But it's just conceptually, most of us, we don't really think like that. We think, okay, we go in with a little screen and we edit it and we apply some sort of change to it. This is it's kind of dumb in a way. My designs, they're dumber than they're not that smart, but that's the appeal, I suppose. The kind of Knobula, it's an easy workflow. And we have this ethos in Knobula, which is no screens and no menus. And maybe one day I'll break it. Maybe one day I'll break that promise. But at the moment, all the design is done on this pretext of there will be no screen and therefore no menus. We have shift functions and long press functions and things like that. But I try to keep at least the main functions are just there for you to use. So our stuff tends to be quite complicated on the top and quite dumb underneath. Whereas I think a lot of particularly non-modular stuff is easy on the top but complicated underneath.
Yeah, well, it's a different path to go in product design.
It is,
I just spent time with the IntelliJ multigrain, which tries the same, but kind of delivers colored lights to show me the knob position. So, well, there are many different ways to try it, but my personal opinion is that if you don't have a screen, you should have not too many shift functions. But of course, where is the border? You can hardly draw a line. It always depends on the concept, and so far your stuff has fascinated me. I got to come back to the Chord Pilot, which I want to briefly show. I have it in my rack. And the thing is, you can push a knob and then play a chord. And these chords can be generated automatically, but I recorded them. This could be a bit easier, I have to say. But then you can play these, which is basically maybe for people who can't play piano, right? But I wonder if you can do certain things with a piano. I mean, that's always the idea, to have a different interface where you can do different things.
It has a big Chord Pilot. It's an algorithm that plays chords based on shapes. It has no kind of musical knowledge other than you force it through scales. You force the result through a kind of scale quantizer. But yes, in terms of chords you can actually play, of course, it'll do up to 8 notes, and you can have one down there and one up there and 6 in the middle.
You can hardly play that with 2 hands.
So you can play. You need more than one person to play those chords.
So it's a fantastic performance tool.
Yeah,
I have never seen a module like that, and I come from piano playing, so it really fascinated me. And
I mean, I did a whole video on. I think someone wrote in and said, how can you get a C minor 7 on a Chord Pilot? And the whole point of Chord Pilot is that there is no major, minor, 7th. There isn't. You can't select that kind of chord. You have to build it. So I did a whole video of how to build an A minor 7th, which is basically, I mean, if you're just looking at the white notes, it's just every other note, isn't it? 4 is that.
You mean by recording manually or by using the internal system?
Yeah, just by using the internal system. It's like, well, it's 4 notes, you start in E, and then it's like miss one, miss one, miss one, and then that's your E minor 7th. But then as soon as you transpose it, it becomes a major. See, I don't know music well enough to know how that would work. But
we could debate for hours about this, because I think the manual recording could be easier, whereas the automatic generating of chords is a system on its own. And we could debate which of those chords would make are the favorite ones of a musician, or you probably like other ones than I do, but you can get lots of chords out of Chord Pilot, and it's just a very innovative concept of how to play chords. And you need to spend time with it to get the best out of it, as with every module.
As with every module, yes. And I mean, the difficulty I find is by the time I've finished a module, I've spent so much time with it. I don't know how complicated it is to learn. I think it's a mistake.
You lose the feeling for that, then,
Yeah, well, I get very good at it. I get expert at it, and then I design something else, and then I can't remember how to operate the old one, and then people email me, with questions, and
I know it from reviewing gear.
Yeah.
So, what's the future holding up for Knobula? Is there anything more you can?
I keep thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do for the next module? I've actually got two modules lined. I was going to do a mixer, but then I bumped into Steve of is it the Blue Box guy? 1010 Music, 1010 Music, and he was like, can I have a Monumatic? You can have something of mine, and I was like, I quite like your mixer, and he goes, well, that's quite a bit more than a Monumatic. So he got a Chord Pilot and a Monumatic, and we traded, and I got this this mixer, and I was a bit unsure about it because as you know, I'm a non-screen person, and it's got this massive screen.
They're really
see it just there. There's a massive
it's
screen.
here too.
Yeah.
They've got the engineering. They're really rock solid engineering people, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's very straightforward.
It's very straightforward, and it does everything I need to do. But I immediately went and bought a MIDI controller for it that had like 32 knobs on it, and then I just thought I just got to know it.
And you were demotivated.
I was yeah. Once I'd plugged it into the knobs, I realised this is incredibly powerful. I could switch off the screen. I'm not interested in that. The idea is I've got it's basically an 8-track recorder with 8 inputs, and then I've got 8 effect sends, 8 low cut filters, 8 high cut filters, and so that's just the basis of my kind of mixing center now, and it takes up very little real estate for what it does, because I used to have a separate compressor, because it's all about real estate, isn't it? I find with modular, unless you've got a home studio and it's 1,000 HP. Ultimately, if it doesn't fit in a suitcase, it's not coming.
It's all about space, and your modules. You're trying to save space, like. Polycinematic was 12 HP, and Monumatic isn't.
They're all 12 HP. They're all 12 HP,
yeah.
with the exception, of course, of Drum Farm, which is double. It's 24 HP. Because I just thought to put it in 12 HP, it just wouldn't be the module I wanted it to be, and it does, 4 sounds at once.
It does replace lots of other modules, of course.
It does, and then also it's a good companion module. It's a good companion module for the quad drum, which I also love. That's for drum playback, and I deliberately designed the drum farm to be compatible. So you can literally take an SD card out of drum farm and pop it into quad drum, and it will play. So you can use the quad drum as as an expander.
With quad drum, which module was that again?
That's the VPN,
the
VPN DE.
Okay, VPN.
VPD.
So they are really compatible. Wow.
Yeah, I spoke to Vlad and said, look, just because we're good friends, and I said, look, just so you know, I'm building this. Showed him it, and he was like,
"Is there
any?" He was typically like, it was going to happen eventually. But I said, no, this is like your module is like the expander for my module. If you're using it as a voice, so
wow.
So yeah, so
very interesting.
Yeah.
So there is friendship and collaboration and mind-blowing idea sharing.
He was like, look, you can have access to the there's a socket on the back you can access and get more. And I said, look, no, I don't want to tread on your toes any more than that, So because we have a respect for everyone. I think in Europe we have a respect for each other, because it's a tough game. Most of us are just hobbyists doing it for the love of it. I mean, that's why I started. I didn't do Polycinematic. I didn't build it. I didn't sort of think, let's start a modular company, and this is the first product. It was like, well, I need polyphony, and I want to do it my way. Someone had done something similar, but with just one button, and it actually wasn't a Eurorack module, but in terms of proof of concept, they'd done a polycinematic type of polyphonic module, but it had just one encoder, and then you had to switch between departments or menus, effectively menus. And I just thought, no, that's not going to work for me. So I selfishly designed my own instrument, and then I built, I think, 10, and thought, I'll see if I can sell them. If I make a website, I'll see if I can sell them. I'll do all the product images in computer generated, because that's what
that's
I did,
where you came from.
That's
right?
what I did. Yeah,
I forgot that.
And see what happens. And then I had 200 back orders.
Jason, that was great to speak to you and to hear a little bit.
Yeah.
And yes, I also briefly talked to Vlad and or sent an email and the ideas of the Euclidean sequencer.
Yes.
And that's a bit similar to what you do, maybe innovative digital stuff. And now some pieces come together in my head.
His stuff are fun, there's a kind of lightheartedness, I think, to his designs, which I like. And also he's an amazing electronics guy as well, Vlad. Yeah.
Okay,
but thank you for having me on your.
I hope
show.
that our viewers get an idea of what Knobula is about and get more interested in working with modular synthesizers.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Jason. And I'm finishing the recording.